means an interesting morning and early afternoon indeed. The wind coming from the north, and that's kind of where this weather came from. Watching the morning meteorologists, and I actually should have been a meteorologist because it seems like they get things more often wrong than right, but they said it was going to be a beautiful day today, but we did get that shower, as Davey had said, and it put a damper on the proceedings here. And since we've decided to start this practice session, they rolled the cars out. The actual ambient temperature was 81. It's since gone up to 82, but the track temperature, interestingly enough, was at 98, and within about 7 minutes it jumped to 105. So the sun is baking this Worldwide Technology Raceway Speedway, and for these drivers, these teams, and as the sun continues to shine, certainly will be some changing conditions throughout not only this first session, but the afternoon as well.
Clock rolling on this 1 hour session. Cars report back to the pit lane after that lap for the obligatory look-see before we set about this practice session. 3:15 Eastern, 2:15 Central Time. We'll have the Indy next, presented by Firestone's first practice session. And then at 5:30 Eastern, 4:30 Central Time, we'll go qualifying for the NTT INDYCAR Series. And then at 7 o'clock Eastern, Indy next qualifying at 6 p.m. Central Time. And then we'll wrap up the day, 8:15 Eastern, 7:15 local time for a final IndyCar practice session. Also patrolling the pit lane this weekend with Michael Young is Jake Query.
Thank you so much, Mark. I am here in pit stall number 1. Essentially what that means is when you leave pit road, it is the final pit stop. It belongs to Colton Herta. That's because, of course, he was the front qualifier at our last outing on the streets of Detroit. But one of the things that we will watch closely here, and I'm curious about in these sessions, and that is these Firestone Firehawks. Now, of course, on the road and street courses, we get so conditioned to looking for that softer compound tire. Not the case here on the ovals, but each team is given 10 sets of these Firestone Firehawks, and in these very warm conditions here on this oval, curious to see just how the tire degradation works over the course of these sessions and what they can learn not only in the practice, but then of course keep in mind later this evening once the sun starts to set and they are under the lights. That's the condition that we will see in race conditions. So how does it translate from one to the next? How much does the humidity here, the heat, start to work in those tires, and then figuring out, of course, that balance between making sure you have grip on an oval and enough fuel on a stent, balancing all of that. One of the things that we'll watch here over the course of these practice sessions and qualifying later today, Mark.
One thing they do know, Davey, is that the compound is the same as they had here 1 year ago, so they expect the deg to be similar. As Jake said, the 10 sets, they were offered an extra set for that highlight practice that was originally scheduled. That's now been scrubbed, so it is the 10 sets. But as Jake points out, a lot of factors go into that tire deg, and it may not always translate from 1 year to the next.
Yeah, it's going to change up a little bit. I think just because of this weather, they should have plenty of sets, no question about it. And as we know, last year, I think the deg was pretty good. It fell off like it's supposed to, slowed these cars down, and actually made some really good racing. You remember, I think Malukas, I thought he's going to win the darn thing for his first race last year, and it really made for a competitive race last year to watch. So I expect to see the same this year as well.
Little bit of moisture on the backstretch, and a couple of laps for the safety trucks, and they're holding out for the hope that that'll only be temporary, so the safety trucks are out. I'll tell you what, plenty of storylines coming into this race weekend, and that'll be that way all the way through the end of the campaign, and giving us a preview of the storylines, what to look for, what to watch for, and some of the things that are holding over in terms of storylines from the most recent race in Detroit. We now welcome Dave First.
Welcome to the Bommarito Automotive Group 500 weekend. We've reached the time of year where the pace definitely picks up. The NTT IndyCar Series will be on track on 6 of the next 7 weekends, and it begins at the 1.25 mile long Worldwide Technology Raceway. And, of course, Alex Palou. After his first oval win at the Indianapolis 500, can the dominant series points leader now go back-to-back on ovals? He still has something to prove on short ones. His best finish here was 4th last year. So does all of that open the door for everyone else? Let's begin with Joseph Newgarden. Clearly, this is Joseph's time to shine. The 2-time series champ is a 5-time winner in St. Louis. If Pato Award has eyes on a series prize, now is the time to show it. The Arrow McLaren driver sits second in points and returns to Gateway armed with 4 podiums and 2 runner-up finishes. Is the door open for Andretti Global? They took 2 of the top 3 spots in Detroit, and Colton Hurd has made some big strides on ovals, including his first win on one at Nashville last year. And just what are we watching with A.J. Foyt racing? Santino Ferrucci with a runner-up finish in Detroit, David Malukas with a runner-up finish at Indy, and by the way, the last time the team had 3 straight podiums, got to go back to 1998 when Kenny Brack won at Charlotte, Pikes Peak, and Atlanta. So a little history on the line with the team here. Throw in Graham Rahal's 300th career start. Sprinkle in how Scott Dixon shines in prime time. A dose of Scott McLaughlin's rise to prominence on ovals, including Team Penske's last win, which came at Milwaukee last year, and any number of other variables at a track that produced a race record 676 on-track passes last year. And Sunday night is sure to be a fitting way to finish a Father's Day weekend. Join us all weekend long here on IndyCar Radio.
Thank you very much, Dave. Good stuff and a lot of stories to watch. You talk about some of the drivers and their dominance here. Much is made, of course, Davey, of the dominance of Joseph Newgarden. 9 starts here, 5 wins, a couple of poles, but final award of late. He had 6 starts here, 4 podiums. He's finished second 3 times. He clearly loves this racetrack.
Yeah, no question about it. And this track, obviously, I'm going to explain it just somewhat. It's an oval, but it's not just a standard oval. This is a 1.25 miles, but turn 1 and 2 has some banky to it, Mark, but really tight. You're going to shift down from 6th gear to 4th gear through that corner, and you're lifting and you're on brakes very hard down there, down the back straightaway. You'll bump that thing up to 5th gear going down the back, going down into turn 3. By the way, they'll be flat out turn 3, flat out turn 4, coming on this front straightaway up to 6th gear. And then you start it over again. So it's kind of an egg-shaped track, 2 completely different corners, and it's a very challenging track.
This front straight, a little over 1,900 feet, over 1,900 feet in length is that back straight, and it's 60 feet wide, but can narrow up plenty, especially between 1 and 2. So discussion about the banking, Davey, it differs from one end to the X. Turns 1 and 2, 9 degrees. Turns 3 and 4, actually 9 degrees. Turns 1 and 2 at 11 degrees. That presents challenges, too.
Yeah, that's right. It's somewhat, we go back and, we ran Phoenix for years and years, and IndyCar was really known to run that Phoenix dog leg track. It somewhat has that feel to it, except for this is another 1/4 mile longer. It's 1.25 miles instead of a 1 mile. But that banking being different in each corner, it definitely plays a role. And you need all you could get in 1 and 2 because, like I say, it's so tight down there. But 3 and 4, it makes it a challenge. When I say you're flat out through there, you are, but not all the time. I mean, just definitely lifting, sometimes even a little bit of breakdown through there as the tires wear.
Now, winters aren't harsh here, but they do have winter for sure, and that causes this place to weather up throughout the course of the year. You hearing some grumblings about maybe a little bit of a noticeable bump down in turn 1?
Yeah, so in Iowa, I know the Indy Next went there to test, and there's a brand new bump down into turn 1, and it's right at turn in. Right where you do not want to bump because your car's loaded right there. They're getting ready to turn in. Unfortunately, they had 4 big wrecks in the Indy Next there. Indy cars go there here in a few weeks to test, so we'll see how that bump is, if it's going to calm down, maybe grind that bump a little bit to make it easier for these drivers. But bumps, we have bumps on racetracks. There's no question about it. But man, that one being right at the wrong spot, right at total load down, fast as you're going to be, and then right at turn in.
Pretty clear that if you're going to recap Detroit, if we're racing on the streets of somewhere, Kyle Kirkwood's going to be pretty good.
Yeah, wow, how about that? I mean, that track there, another very, very challenging track. And I'm going to go to the bumps there as well. I mean, the bumpiest track that we run on for sure the entire year is the track in Detroit, 1.7 miles. So it's very short, one really good passing zone down that long back, so we call it the back straightaway. It's where the starting line is, though. And then going into turn 3, and we see what could happen there. I mean, some chaos in both Indy Next and IndyCar happens down in turns 3 and 4. Piled some cars up, but Kirkwood, he had it mastered. It's just no different than he did Long Beach this year.
Green flag is out. A couple of cars have taken to this racetrack. We'll keep an eye on an activity picking up, but probably will over the next 5 or 6 minutes or so. Interesting top 5. Kyle Kirkwood, Santino Ferrucci. Dave addressed his second place finish and the penalties and the fines. Colton Hurd started on pole, was able to salvage a podium out of the weekend. Will Power with a solid top 5 finish. Still some question as to where Will Power will be racing next year. So each week he probably feels like he's auditioning a little bit. And then how about Kiffin Simpson grabbing the top 5 for Ganassi Racing?
Yeah, I talked to Chip about Kiffin maybe at Indy or somewhere in there, and I go, you know what? He's kind of been very quiet. We don't talk a lot about Kiffin, but he's doing an outstanding job. I mean, he just gets better and better. He's not, the reason we're not talking about him, Mark, he's not crashing. He's not causing any issues. He's being pretty fast. He's not at the front of the field, but he's towards the front of the field, and he's getting the job done. Doing good.
Toward the rear of timing and scoring, we look at the final results from that race, and some interesting names back there. Regis VK, we thought he was up for a serviceable weekend after a 6th place finish, making the Firestone Fast 6. Mechanical Gremlins relegated him, we should say, to the 27th position. And how about your points leader, Alex Pillow? Got stuffed into the tire barriers, had some help getting there from David Malukas, and it didn't threaten his championship lead, but it certainly paired some points off.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it took some points off it, no question about it. I got to look at the points. We kind of got mixed up on points. We had 2 different screens we were looking at. I think he's only, he's at 92.
Pilow's at 311.
And Pato's at 221.
That's right.
So 90-some point difference right there. So still got a nice lead, no question about it. But he has to, it wasn't his fault. He got kind of pushed into a tire barrier in turn 1, and that happens at that kind of racetrack.
So about this racetrack, we talked a little bit about the difference between 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and as you and I have discussed here many, many times before, you hear about teams really striking a balance of the race car. That's probably harder to do here than anywhere else.
Yeah, because these corners, and we ran, and that, like I say, I kind of compare this to Phoenix a little bit, a bigger Phoenix, and it is really challenging to get your car to handle on a really tight corner that you got to shift down 2 gears to another corner that you're almost wide open through. It's where do you want to be the fastest? And I always say, I think in my case at Phoenix, you always want to be fastest in the fastest corner. So then turn 3 and 4, because it brings you on that long straightaway, to this long front straightaway. I think that's the momentum corner. That's the one that you want to be faster, so nobody tries to overtake you. But then you got the challenge of getting your car at least to turn proper or not be loose down in turn 1.
So working on qualifying setup, I'm assuming, for a good portion of this one. I mean, obviously you want a good race car, but I think to that end, we see some pretty good separation and not too many drivers racing in traffic.
Yeah, well, and that you're exactly right. I mean, we don't know what the day brings yet. Right now, they're in a practice session. We know we have another 46 minutes left in this. After that, we don't know really anything. We feel like it's going to be this, and we'll go into qualifying. And so what you'd like to do is get a good car balance, first of all, just to make sure you have a good race car. But then you have to have some time in here to throw in to make sure that you qualify well. We continue to talk about how competitive this field is, how close the times are from bottom to top. And the farther forward that you start at any race that we run at, the better off you are.
To give you an idea of what we're talking about in terms of how competitive this series is, just think about some of the names that find themselves mired in the midway point of the standings. We'll talk more about that as time permits. First, we want to hear from Larry Foyt.
Santino Ferrucci is sitting inside that Sexton Properties number 14 Chevrolet right now. That gives us a chance to talk to Larry Foyt. And when you think about the last performance for your team on an oval and the way that you guys performed in Indianapolis, combined with David Malukas the way he was here a year ago, between David Malukas and Santino Ferrucci, what is your confidence level going here into Gateway?
Well, of course, I'd say cautiously optimistic. I mean, this place is a tricky little racetrack, so when you have 2 guys that actually like it and they like to race here, I mean, you look, when we came here with Connor, he's jumped right up to P1, and I think both of our guys are really good here, so got pretty good baseline setup to come here, so we're optimistic.
In terms of the tricky nature of this track, can you enlighten me on just the challenges specifically it does create?
Well, the biggest thing is you have 2 different radius corners, right? So it's easy to get caught setting up for one end or the other, but you have to really try to balance the car where it does what you want in both sides. And so our guys definitely have that mindset, I think, going in, and that's helpful.
It's crazy, Larry. We're not even into the silly season, obviously, but your technical alliance with Team Penske, combined with now the increased chatter about David Malukas and what that could mean for next year. How do you focus your driver and your team on the task at hand?
Oh, I think we're just head down right now. You know, that stuff will work itself out. And no, we're all just focused on getting both these cars closer up in the top 10 in the championship and keep building on the momentum we've got right now. So that's all we're worried about.
Do they work well together?
Yeah, they do. It's so funny. Their personalities are so different. But as they're getting to know each other better, they are really getting along well and working together. And as a team, just figuring out, with David being new to the group, what he wanted to get out of the car, the feels that he was looking for from the places he came from. So it took us a little time, but we really think we're on the right path now.
That Sexton Properties car has now worked its way back out onto the track, so we'll let you get to work, but I appreciate the time as always.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks.
All right, Larry Foyt from AJ Foyt Racing. Mark.
To his point, Connor Daly is P1 at 173.511. Will Power second fastest at 173.4. And then Pilot, DeFrancesco, and Rossi. VK, Simpson, Award, Eilot, Raspies in the top 5. Siegel is our top 10, rather. The Siegel is 11th. Rahal is 12th. Then Stingray, Rob, Santino, Ferrucci, who just went back out. Then Rosenquist, Foster, Schwartzman, Erickson, Abel, Kirkwood, Lundgaard, McLaughlin, Newgarden, and Dixon, Armstrong, Herta, and Malukas. Again, still early on in the session, and some of these drivers exercising the tire management, and so they've only turned a lap or two. Let's go back to Jake with an update on Connor Daly.
You just mentioned Connor Daly, who, of course, already has to like the way that number 76 car feels for Juncos Hollinger Racing, but even with that, they came in. They're making some adjustments on the front spring, so constantly a challenge in terms of the balance for this team. Connor Daly, of course, seemingly has found a home here. That AM/PM sponsorship that was such a big part of them in Indianapolis still remains there on the car, and so while it is not a primary sponsor, being able to continue that partnership is something that this team has been striving for, to find those sponsors that are, of course, always going to be working, as well as InhaleMyInsulin.com. Keep in mind, Connor Daly being diabetic, having that sponsorship on the side of this car as well. So as he sits right now, they make an adjustment to the front of the car, perhaps working on that front balance, and we'll see how that affects things. So far, what's been a good session for Connor Daly.
Well, if you're looking for somebody who's social media savvy and who knows how to conduct themselves in terms of representing a sponsor, you're going to do pretty well if you align yourself with Connor Daly.
Yeah, right. I mean, he's been in this a long time, and I think he's driven for about every team out there, I think, except maybe Penske and Ganassi. I'm not exactly sure, but and he works hard at it. He works really, really hard. I mean, he's had his ups and his downs, but one thing, he definitely big on social media. He's going to put your name out there, no question about it. And right now, he's showing some performance, which that's the key thing in this sport. You want to perform well.
Fifth in his debut here back in 2017, but in 9 starts, he has 4 top 10s, so he likes this racetrack.
He definitely likes it. I think on ovals in general, remember, he got a pole in Iowa with Carlin Racing, and I think their only pole, I think his only pole as well. And so right now, the ovals seem to be, he seems to be liking those a lot.
And Rosenquist, Award, and Erickson have moved their way to the top spot. Now, Pato is going a little faster, 175.414. Rosenquist in the 175 range. Then Erickson, Daly, Power has slipped to 5th. Ferrucci, Pilot, DeFrancesco, Kyle Kirkwood, and Alexander Rossi among those running in the top 10. We talked about the season standings and just how competitive this series is, Davey. I mean, when you look mid-pack, you see names like Newgarden and Rossi and Ferrucci and Rahal. That gives you an idea of just how very, very tough this series is.
Absolutely. We continue to, I think Newgarden 12th in the points championship right now, unheard of. But now, if he's going to make a rebound, this is the place he could do it. I mean, he knows this racetrack. He's won here plenty of times. He's kind of the master of this place, really, when it comes to wins, and he's got more than anybody else. And so if he's going to make a rebound, it's this weekend he needs to start doing it.
But with his championships and a couple of Indy 500 wins, he also knows that some of this stuff maybe has been out of his control because of technical gremlins or whatever the case may be, and he has enough experience under his belt that he's not going to go out and force the issue. No. He's going to drive Joseph Newgarden's race, and hopefully at some point he gets out of the slump.
Yeah, and I think it's a situation too where that team knows where the car's been, where they've ran the car in the past, and he just actually went to P1 right there, so that tells you a lot right there. He's definitely on top of the board right now at 175.5 or 457 miles an hour.
A number of cars in that 175 range continues to grow. Kyle Kirkwood at 175.093 is up to fifth fastest. Marcus Ericsson, Davey, we hate to belabor a point, but he has one top 10 finish this season, and he was hoping for a strong rebound after some struggles last year in his first year with Andretti Global, but things just haven't come together yet with that race team for Marcus Ericsson.
He thought he had it running second at the Indianapolis 500.
Yep.
Then, a little infraction there took him out of that position. So his one good finish that he had for the season got pulled away from him, and that was unfortunate. And you look back at what he's done, and he's actually had speed just like we see him right now in 7th position. Dixon just shot up in that 6th spot. But it's just weird things. Bad, wrong place at the wrong time, or something happening mechanical on the car. Just things haven't gone his way this year for sure.
Colton Herta's gone to second fastest, and it was a good weekend for Colton Herta at Detroit after starting on pole. They grabbed a podium finish. He's been good here, Davey. Back in a year ago, he was started 25th and ended up with a top 5. Really good pit strategy employed by that team. 5 top 10s here at Worldwide Technology Raceway for Colton Herta. He may be heating up as the weather heats up.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, we know he can get the job done. And, I heard a little this morning during the rain delay. It gives me too much time to go talk to everybody. But I'm just talking to some people, and they're still, Colton says he's not sure what he's got going on for next year.
Yeah.
Well, that tells you that potentially that his team is doing Formula One, and then he may have the opportunity to go do a Formula One race. And I don't think he's leaving that behind, and has an opportunity to go do that.
Now, caution for a track inspection, and let's hear more about the season for Marcus Ericsson. Jay Query.
Eric Bretzman is the chief strategist for Marcus Ericsson. They have brought that 28 machine in. Let's begin with this. I've seen a lot of cars coming in and immediately kind of checking those front springs. Just in terms of the balance of this racetrack, what challenges does it present, and what are you kind of chasing at this point?
This track presents a great challenge because of the two ends being different shapes physically, different wheel speeds. So we're fighting different balance from end to end, and the whole goal is to bring those together. So yeah, you'll see different spring packages and different setup changes, and it's really just to try and bring the balance together end to end.
It seems like if it wasn't for bad luck, your team would have no luck whatsoever, because it just seems to be chasing the tail constantly for you guys. How have you been able to kind of keep the team focused, and the driver in Marcus as well?
There's a lot of things that happen pretty well too, so we just focus on that and kind of keep doing the things we have to do right every day and keep ticking those boxes.
Yeah, certainly. Obviously it seems as though, I should have said it, there are times that things seem to be beyond your control, right? That all of a sudden sneaks up and snake bites you. What about Marcus Ericsson in terms of, obviously his track record speaks for itself, but can you give us a little glimpse just in terms of the driver, the focus, the intensity of Marcus Ericsson?
Yeah, looking at it, right, you can get frustrated, but he's in the car now and he's got to focus on this job at hand, and we just go session to session, day to day, and keep doing as many of the right things as we can, stay focused and get through each session, set ourselves up for more success down the road.
We'll let you use this track inspection to talk with them and do exactly that. Eric, I appreciate the time.
Thanks. Thank you.
All right, Marcus Ericsson's car, as they take a look at it, they've got the front cowling back over it now. Those springs have been adjusted. Michael?
And with Ben Bretzman, who is now the race strategist for Scott McLaughlin, changes obviously with the month of May. Malcolm Finch now doing the engineering. Is that a situation where you kind of look back and go, hey, maybe you want to look at this or look at that? How has this new role been for you?
It's fun, it's all about making the car go fast, whether it's making sure engineering-wise it's quick or positioning Scott to be successful, and it's just different. It's letting other people spread their wings more, and we're having fun with it so far.
Is it a dream kind of thing? I know in radio you cover pit lane, and then when you go to the turns, that's another step up. Anchoring is another step. Is this the ultimate step, other than being a team president or something of that matter, for being a part of the team?
It's a fun one for sure. Everybody within the team has their hands on it and makes a direct impact with making the car go quicker, and I just get to kind of steer the ship a bit more, which is fun, but just happy to be a part of this group. It's been a pretty exciting last 4 weeks or so, and everybody's been really grinding hard, and happy to just kind of do my part and help where I can.
How's the sleep been? Do you ever wake up at night thinking, man, if I make this call, do you ever have dreams about race strategy now that you're in this role?
It's always there, right? It's just now you're in the position you actually have to tell the guy what to do, but it's the same stuff we've been doing, just a little bit more weight on your shoulders, right? But it's fun. I think it's working with Scott and this timing stand is great. Everybody's really pushing for the right direction. I just got to kind of take everybody's input and make the best decision.
I think everybody up and down pit lane realized Scott's just a great guy to be around. Has it changed your relationship, or how has your relationship changed now that you're in this role with him?
Not yet. I mean, I haven't had a weird situation with him yet, which is good. No, our relationship's great, and he's happy to see what we're doing and how we can improve and how he can be better, how we're going to use him better. And he's excited, I think, for, just something new to try and see what we got.
Certainly a great match and a great step for you. We wish you all the best, not only this weekend, but for the rest of the season.
No, thanks so much.
Go. That's Ben Bretzman, the race strategist for Scott McLaughlin.
Yeah, I would think you could do worse in terms of guys you need to settle in with than Scott McLaughlin. I mean, he seems like he's fairly low maintenance.
It was that guy, when he came over, I go, Scott McLaughlin, he's not like he's a sports car guy really, or, runs the supercars in Australia. And I go, is he the guy? And he came over here and he ran pretty good. He did okay. Then his second year it was like, I'm not sure. And then I seen Ben one day. I go, who you're engineering this year? And he goes, I got Scott. I go, oh, good luck. And then they go out and win the race, and he hasn't stopped winning since. So they definitely knew they were looking out with Scott. He's really, really talented driver.
4 starts here, a second, a fifth, a third, and a fourth.
Yeah, no, this guy is outstanding. Super good guy, too. I mean, obviously when he, even in a bad interview, one that he doesn't want to do, he still somehow tries to bring the good out of it, which you always like out of a racing driver because you have your ups and your downs. He's got a team. He's got people, everybody. He's got the support group that you need behind you. They got the confidence in him. He has the confidence in that entire team as well. So it's a great program they've got together.
There might have been a cut or a puncture in one of those Firestone Firehawks.
Yeah, and that, one thing with a green racetrack, and that's one thing I think they went yellow just to do a track inspection. Anytime that you see a puncture in a tire, they try to do track inspection to find out, did something come off a car, is there debris, is it a rock, what may it be? But we did see a small puncture in one of those Firestones.
So a bit of a hold to the proceedings. 32 minutes remaining in this practice session. And again, it was late getting started, but still going to be plenty to see and do here today. Qualifying will come your way at 4:30 Central Time this afternoon. And then, of course, final practice tonight, which would be cool. I love these cars under the lights, brother.
Yeah. And by the way, if you come here for the race, and they're going down the back straightaway, getting ready to come around for the green, just be prepared. Be prepared, because they do one heck of a fireworks show. I think it's a bomb show back there, actually, with a few firework effects, because it's loud. And I mean, it definitely. I was in the two-seater, and I mean, it gets your attention, no question about it.
There are those that bemoaned the fact that there were undesirable gaps in the schedule at the start of the season, and we kind of encouraged those folks to be patient because, once we got to Barber Motorsports Park May the 4th, that we weren't going to have that many gaps. Just a scattered week off here and there, and I heard Dave first tell us right off the top that 6 of the next 7 weekends going to be racing.
Yeah, we here the next weekend. Road America, then a weekend off, and then obviously we're right back at it for a month. So, and all over the country. I think we go out west to Laguna Seca. We go to Toronto. I mean, we're all over the place, Mid-Ohio. So it's going to be exciting.
Well, what's interesting, I mean, the month of July, and the variety of tracks that the series will race on. You've got the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. You've got a doubleheader weekend at Iowa Speedway. Then you go to the streets of Toronto, and then you go to WeatherTech Raceway in Laguna Seca.
Yeah, right.
That's a challenge.
You street and road and ovals. Road courses, street courses, and ovals all mixed together. That's what makes the IndyCar racers so good. And I give these teams and these drivers so much credit. In the world, I think that it literally run on street courses, road courses, short ovals, and large ovals. And have to make a championship out of that, and the best guy wins.
Close out with 3 pretty fast racetracks. I think Portland's one of the fastest tracks we race on, and then we close out that. I know old guys that are kind of purists like you and I like the fact that the last 2 races of the season gonna be on ovals at Milwaukee and Nashville.
Milwaukee, 2 really challenging tracks, especially Milwaukee, that flat 1 mile oval. What's great about that, you can go back in the history book and watch Upright. They weren't even rear engines when they were running around that at one point. So, and now we're flying around that place in these missiles.
Newgarden, Herta, Award, Rosenquist, and Kirkwood, the top 5. Dixon, Erickson, Daly, Power, and Ferrucci, the top 10. Fast speed so far, 178.243. Back to pit lane and Michael Young.
Yeah, sun's kind of hidden behind the clouds right now as we have a storm front to the east of Worldwide Technology Raceway. It doesn't look like it will impact the proceedings, though. That said, the wind has picked up, and it's coming directly from the north. And, Davey, a question for you, and I know we talked yesterday about these long straightaways. obviously Indianapolis, that big 2.5-mile oval, but how does it affect Worldwide Technology Raceway, as these are not just small gusts, these are constant winds coming straight down the front straightaway?
It definitely makes a difference. You know, when you have that tailwind going down into turn one, by the way, you're braking getting down into turn one. You're shifted down a couple of gears. So that wind's trying to push you down there even harder yet. Now, once you come off at turn two, you got to be careful too, because of as soon as that headwind hits your nose wing, sometimes pins that front end, makes the back end want to be a little free. And then same thing on turn in. You should have a lot, slows you down the back straightaway because of the wind, but it gives you a lot of downforce turning down into turn three. So turn three should be the easiest one today. And then turn four gets a little bit light coming off that corner as well. So winds are very challenging, especially at these cars.
So if we go back a couple of years ago, Nick Yeoman and I have talked about watching you down there, watch your son race the Silver Crown race a couple of years ago, but not going to be focused on the Silver Crown race, which is here this weekend, but he's taking another step up the ladder.
Yeah, well, I got the Silver Crown cars all ready to go. I had a couple of them and kind of planned on bringing them here, and then he informed me a few weeks ago that he was joining HMD Motorsports in Indy next, and he's going to do the 4 ovals, that's his comfort zone right now, and that's his background. So this is his first one, so he's going to be on the track for the first time with HMD to get a race in here at WeatherTech Raceway.
How many laps has he turned? How many opportunities has he had to test those cars?
Well, he's tested here 0, so he has 0 laps around here, but they did test last week in Iowa, and they had a few technical problems with the car, had a half-shaft boot tear and a steering column they had to replace, but he got about 70 laps in there, which was really good. And then he went to Mid-Ohio on a road course just to see what they were like there.
Right.
No real help here, but so he's been in the cars, he kind of knows them, but you know, when it's your first event where it all counts, it's a whole different story. So right now he's just, his goal is, he told me, he goes, hey, just cancel the Silver Crown deal. I need to focus on this, which is probably wise of him. And so like I said, we left the Silver Crown cars at home, and he's going to get them here and just keep his nose clean and get a finish hopefully.
Yeah, I look forward to that for sure, and we'll have complete coverage of all of the Indy Next track activity, including their first practice session, which comes your way at 2:15 Central Time, 3:15 Eastern this afternoon as the green flag comes back out, and I would expect track activity to pick up a little bit, Davey, because there's only 27 minutes left.
Yeah, only 27 minutes left, and a few guys really haven't had a chance to get some good laps. For example, McLaughlin, Schwartzman, Abel, Foster, they haven't even had a real chance to get good laps down. So everybody's going to be on track right now.
Michael Young.
Yeah, with Kara Kristalik of Firestone. And Kara, we just had that inspection on the track for debris, and they did find some stuff on track. But I noticed as soon as we went to caution and we found that there was debris on track, that you immediately get up and you go searching for the situation and what happens. What is it that you and Firestone do when you find that there is debris on the track and a potential puncture with the tire? What do you look for?
Talking to INDYCAR, so we have engineers and technicians at every couple of pit boxes, and these men and women are trained to look at the tires and see whether the cut might be too much to run or not. So myself and another engineer in pit lane will go and we'll look at the tire, assess the situation. A place like Gateway is really abrasive, and the pit lane has some rocks that are pretty sharp on it, so small cuts are pretty common, and these Firestones can take quite a bit. But if the cut is too big, we're going to ask the team not to run it, or if it's leaking too much. There's a lot of things that we look at just to ensure the safety of our drivers on the racetrack.
Clearly you brought the same compound that you had last year, but it was a rough winter as well. Do you come and test this track before you bring these tires that you had last year, or are you pretty much guaranteed that the track isn't going to change that much?
So for a track like this, we were able to run the hybrid, we were able to run the right tire specifications, and we got a lot of good data back. So once we get back from a racetrack on a race weekend, we actually save all of our right sides and a lot of our left side tires. We look at the durability of the tires, and we test them in the labs in Akron to make sure that they were durable enough. We had really great results from that, so we decided based on that we were going to bring the same tire back.
Lastly, with this being an egg-shaped track, does that add an additional challenge in tire development? And which is more important at this track, the right sides, left sides? How does that play out with the different ends of this track?
So it's all important. You can't have a really great right side or a great left side. If they don't match, the tire is not going to perform well as it goes into the turn. So really unique track in that having degradation is a challenge because you have those long straights. So it allows the thermal properties of the tire, allows it to cool off, which is the opposite direction of what you want for a lot of degradation. If you want degradation, you want a lot of turning, you want the compound to heat up, which it doesn't here. So it's a challenge for a compound that's going to have the appropriate amount of drop-off, but they're able to come up with this great combination of left and right sides. It's all stuff that we do with both the engine manufacturers and with INDYCAR itself.
Once you said thermal properties, my mind got scrambled and then I got lost. So I'm sure that made sense to some of our listeners, but that's way above my pay scale. Thank you as always. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.
All right, thank you, Michael.
No, that's Kara Kristalik, race director over here at Firestone, as we head over to Jake Query.
Thank you so much, Michael. During that track inspection, I came down to take a look at the Sirius XM Honda. That, of course, of Felix Rosenquist's car, number 60 from Irishank Racing, and they had the front right tire off of that car and were making a very hard look and then an adjustment on the toe link on the front right. Then asked the team, was there a concern here? And they said, no, we just had a balance issue we wanted to straighten out. So they went ahead and did what they thought they needed to do to get better balance on the front right. Interesting, of course, because these cars turning left, but at the same time, makes you wonder what might be in that number 60 machine in terms of the potential left, because Felix Rosenquist, at the time of that adjustment, came in. He was the fourth fastest so far in this session, Mark.
I'm going to go back to that conversation Michael had with Kara Kristalik. I thought she said something interesting about the characteristics of this racetrack and how the tire deg is affected because of these long straightaways, Davey. Gives those tires a chance to actually cool off, which cuts back on the deg.
Yeah, that's right. You know, tire heat and tire, when you're turning, going against the surface of the tire, meaning corners or braking, that's what wears the tire out. Well, you don't have a lot of that here. Just these straightaways are so long. So the tire, once it's hot, it degrades easier. When it's cool, they have a hard time degrading, and that's what they run into is these. I mean, if you put a car in a wind tunnel, these tires are the worst part of it. They take so much air, and they're like a brick actually in a wind tunnel, but it cools them off tremendously. Sometimes that's good, but sometimes it's bad when I'm trying to get degradation out of the tires.
Now, we have the, obviously, the luxury of our multi-screen monitor, and so we're watching cars in this practice session. I'm curious because of how different the arc is of these turns and how differently they're constructed. Describe, first of all, the entrance into 1 and 2 and how it differs from the entrance that you want to make into turn number 3.
Yeah, so 1 and 2, you do want to do as late entrance as you possibly can, but as we look down there in the turn 1, you can see it doesn't look like it's a really late entrance. But when you're on track, it's about as late as you can go because it's a very sharp corner. If you get out there too wide, get in what we call the marbles, the car takes off. So you're around the bottom of that corner for a long time in turn 1 and 2. You're on that white line on the bottom for a long time. Where you look at 3 and 4, much later entry, take your time getting down to the bottom of the racetrack, more like past the apex, and then staying on the bottom coming on the exit. So 2, like I said, completely different corners. They both generate heat, back to that. They both generate heat, but I'm going to have to say that the scuff heat comes from turn 1 and the tire temp comes from turn 3 and 4.
Yeah, it's interesting, the vastly different makeups of these turns, and those are the characteristics. I mean, when we go to these road and street courses, we all have these, iconic portions, hairpins and Thunder Valley and things of that nature. But I think when you come here, just the layout of this track is what makes it so unique.
Very unique. And, and I asked when we first came here years ago, and I go, why did you guys design the track like this? I mean, what was the reason? And they go, that's the property layout that we had. That's what we had to be able to use. That's how it all came out with the drag strip here, trying to fit it into the space they had, and they did a really good job doing that. But it did make it very challenging for all these teams and drivers.
Joseph Newgarden, P1 at 178.243. Colton Herta, second fastest at 176.808. So quite a disparity there between the laps being turned by Newgarden and Colton Herta. Rossi at 175.494, and then Pato Award, and then Felix Rosenquist, the top 5. Rosenquist at 175.401. Malukas is 6th, Kirkwood is 7th, Will Power is 8th, Scott Dixon is 9th, Marcus Ericsson is 10th, Connor Daly is 11th, Santino Ferrucci is 12th, Christian Lundgaard is 13th, Alec Palou is 14th, Devlin DiFrancesco is 15th, Scott McLaughlin is 16th, Callum Ilott 17th, 18th Louis Foster, 19th Regis VK, 20th Graham Rahal, Christian Rasmussen 21st, 22nd is Giffen Simpson, 23rd Marcus Armstrong, 24th is Nolan Siegel, 25th Stingray Robb, Jacob Abel, and Robert Schwartzman, the 27 cars entered this weekend.
And let me tell you what a difficult course this is. Schwartzman, the slowest car right now on this racetrack, was a pole sitter at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. that goes to show you just the difference in these racetracks and how you have to drive them different, completely different. This is much more challenging, but it's a shorter track, but much more challenging to get speed out of your race car than it is at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, where in qualifying setup, you're basically holding it wide open all the way around there. So Schwartzman right now having a little bit of struggle getting some speed out of the car. He does have 19 laps, by the way, a fair amount of laps, where Newgarden has 9 laps in P1. So it tells you that he's working hard out there, but just hard to get comfortable here.
A lot of communication going on right now, Davey, between these guys on the pit box and these drivers, because as Michael and Jake have already well documented, and we can see it as we look just across the way at the pit lane. I mean, the 45 car Louis Foster. I mean, there's a beehive of crew working on that race car, and boy, those shocks and springs certainly getting plenty of attention during this session.
Yeah, it's back to what we were talking about, balance of the race car. You may think, wow, it's really good in this corner, but down there I'm hanging on for life. So how do we change the car not to affect one end but make the other end better? It's a challenge, and that's where the shocks, springs, the dampers come into play. That's where these engineers get paid the bigger money, and one side you're going to have to compromise. And I always said, well, I'm going to compromise 1 and 2 if I need to compromise the corner, because I want to keep that speed up down through 3 and 4. Now let's go up to the race conditions, though. It's really hard to pass at 3 and 4 when you're wide open. It's a lot easier to pass in 1 and 2, where you have to shift down 2 gears, so you want to be good, especially on the outside. So, qualifying sim to a race sim could be totally different for these guys.
They did have on the schedule initially some high line practice, if you will, and they scrubbed that because of the weather and the late start to the proceedings. So to that end, how soon before drivers would have confidence in being able to run that high line through each end of the racetrack?
Unfortunately, it's going to be a while. When they force the drivers to go up there and put that rubber in that high line, it's the same for everybody. It gets a rubber up. Guys that go up there, they find grip. As you remember, it was pretty slow in that session last year at the start of it, but by the end of it, they had some pretty good speed. They looked comfortable and confident up there. And when the green came out for the race, guys weren't afraid to go up there. Right now, it's just a gamble, because it's starting to form that black line that we see where the rubber's laying down. And above that white line, it's just white, so it's a little scary to go up there right now.
Interesting to note is we look out at this racetrack that fronts because of the pit wall to drivers left. I think, the racing portion of the track itself, they say, is a minimum of 60 feet wide all the way around. But there's no question that you got to feel a level of comfort and almost a bit of relief once you come off of turn number 2, because that backstretch is just so much wider than the front stretch.
Yeah, it sure is. Really wide back straightaway. And trust me, these drivers, they're going to use that back straightaway up. They're doing it by themselves, where they come off that wall, they kind of veer down towards the bottom of the racetrack, veer back up before the corner entry, and you'll see that doing that in the race. There's a lot of room back there to get 2-3 wide.
Notice your points leader had spent a lot of time in the pit box with a number of crew members working on that car, Michael Young.
Yeah, the left side pod was off that car for quite some time. The crew was at work, and the ECU ended up being at fault. The team just changed that ECU out. Alex reported that the engine was singing and doing just fine, and then all of a sudden it just shut off. So they brought him in, they checked the car over, and they have determined that it was that ECU. The crew did a great job getting that replaced, and Alex, as a matter of fact, about a minute or so ago, went back on track.
Essentially the electronic brains of that car, Davey, and I tell you, you have your collective breaths held, because when there's an electrical issue, you change that ECU, and you hope that's it, because if it's not, you're chasing.
Yeah, you're chasing at that point. We remember seeing some of these, like in Indy Next, we had a car in Barber that they changing everything in that car, and there's so many wires in these cars. When you have a gremlin, and it's not just an easy ECU or something easy to change, trying to chase that down is very, very difficult.
Joseph Newgarden continues P1, Davey, at a 178.243, and that's about a mile and a half faster than Colton Herta right now.
Yeah, an impressive part, Quite a bit of an advantage for Newgarden, as we talked about how fast he is there. But look who just joined him at a 178.149 right behind him. That's his teammate, Scott McLaughlin, who's made 15 laps, shoots right behind his teammate. They're 1 and 2 in those Penske cars. Then Herta. Then how about Armstrong? Find himself in that Meyer-Shank car in that 4th position. Good job by him. And then the ECR team with Rossi in 5th, Pato Ward 6th, Rosenquist finish. Yeah, really good finish here. And that's just certain things. And sometimes, even if the cars sometimes are challenging to drive, and driver thinking hey, I'm having a hard time out here, but then your crew says, well, hey, you got the fastest lap of the race or the fastest lap of that lap, and your car's better than the rest of them, and you think, oh, that's a refocus. I'm going, hey, mine's not great, but at least I'm faster than everybody else, and that's what happens with some of those guys. And all of a sudden, they keep charging and get good finishes. Like I said, pulled off a P8 here.
Noticeable sunshine now with 14 minutes left. Does that throw a curveball at all, it seems?
I don't think so. There is some, it's still a bit cloudy, but that sunshine, I think it's a welcoming thing to see for these drivers, see a little sunshine on this racetrack. As we talk about, they're going to see some nighttime on this track too with the lights making it bright. You can see we talking, oh, he's coming for the pits, but down that back straightaway, some of these drivers are almost going all the way to the infield down that back straightaway before they veer back up to the top of the racetrack and enter turn 3.
Boy, I'll tell you, after that rain, this had to be a really green racetrack, and to that end, I won't say they're tiptoeing through 1 and 2, but they're far from full board.
Yeah, you know, and actually the speeds are pretty good. I'm surprised they kicked up to that 178 right off the bat like that, but with no rubber on this racetrack, you know, these drivers, they're so good. I mean, they're in this sport for a reason because they're very good. They're professional. They know the limitations of these tires, these cars, and what they have, and they get the most out of them very quickly. And as this track gets better, they're going to go a little bit faster yet. But right now, you know, they're trying to find the limits of the grip, and at a super speedway, basically, that's not easy to do.
Well, be it having tested here or ran here a year ago and been successful, you know, I know the Firestone brought the same tire compound. These cars are essentially the same. The racetrack hasn't changed much, but that doesn't mean that just because you were good here last year, that you're going to be good here this year.
Yeah, that's different. Rubber is not laid on the track like it was. And, you know, like I say, everything's just a little bit different. Just like I say, you're good one year doesn't mean you're good the next. Now, you want to say most generally, yeah, we're going to be good again, and you're probably in the game, but doesn't mean that you still don't have some struggles.
So continuing to recap the season to this point, most notably the race recently in Detroit. As we mentioned, good stories among the top 10. Kiffin Simpson came home with a 5th place finish, and Joseph Newgarden had a long day, Davey, and maybe he's going to heat up now that the summertime is here. He started 24th and was able to squeeze a top 10 out of that race.
Yeah, we continue to talk about Joseph and just how far down the points championship he is, and just like, when's it going to happen for him? When's he going to start, you know, trying to fight towards the front and get some wins? And it just, when, like I say, 12th in the points championship, just not his style. But right now, the track that he wins on and really kind of dominates is right here at WeatherTech Raceway, and he is P1 right now, so looks like he's on track to get back in victory lane.
178.243 miles per hour. McLaughlin at a 178.149, as Davey told you. David Malukas pedaling it around here at 177.856. Colton Herta and Marcus Ericsson in the top 5. Malukas, I'll tell you, he started second, had some issues, finished 21st a year ago, but he was 3rd in 2023 and 2nd in 2022. So David Malukas has had his share of success in the last couple of years, his first 3 years here at World Rod Technology Raceway. Jay Query?
Guys, keep an eye on the times here that are turned in the next couple of laps for Will Power, because he came in and that number 12 Verizon machine was 12th on the speed chart, which is nothing, of course, to sneeze at until you consider the fact that his 2 teammates, in Scott McLaughlin and Joseph Newgarden, 2nd and 1st in this session, respectively. When he came in, they did 2 things with that car during a bit of a layoff there for Will Power on track. They took a look at kind of the balance and the setup on the rear of the race car, but then they also put on a brand new set. This is not unusual, of course, during this session, of sticker Firestone Firehawks, but a brand new set. Matter of fact, one still had the sticker on it, and then sent him out. So we'll see whether or not the things they were working on the rear balance of the car, in fact, gets him that speed that his 2 teammates have found. Not that he hasn't been quick in this session, but we'll see if Will Power can work his way back up into that top 10, top 5, which is where, of course, you would expect with McLaughlin and Newgarden running 2nd and 1st.
And again, 13th fastest right now. 9 career starts here for Will Power. He won the race in 2018. 4 poles to go along with 5 top 5. So it would make sense that as this session progresses, he would hope to get up there with his teammates.
Yeah, I have to say right now, he did shoot up. He went to that. He's in that ninth position right now as Newgarden. He's going to hop out of his car with 10 minutes to go in this session. He seems to be content where he's at right now. Power's still on the racetrack. He can give it one more shot to see if he can get a little closer. He's to 175.7, but his teammates 178.2.
10 minutes remaining in the session, and yeah, you see that more and more in this day and age, and just a matter of being content with what you have, and especially if traffic continues to pick up a little bit. If you're good, you like it, just leave the setup as it is and go qualifying later.
Yeah, he's talking to Luke, his engineer, right now, and kind of seeing what they have. They both seem to be happy, and so far so good. So it's going to be a little feather in his cap, or their cap, for going into the qualifying.
Pretty cool history here, all in all, Davey, in terms of legends that have won here and some well-known names in open-wheel racing. 1997, Paul Tracy won the first race here. Patrick Carpentier and Alex Barron were on the podium.
Who's here, by the way? Alex Barron's here today.
So Alex Zanardi won the race in 1998. Michael Andretti, Juan Montoya, Alonso Jr., Gilles de Ferran, and Elio Castro Neves among the early winners. And then, of course, no racing here under the INDYCAR banner from 2003 all the way to 2017. And when we came back, it was Joseph Newgarden that got that win back on August 26th of 2017. And the podium that day was Joseph Newgarden, Scott Dixon, and who?
Malukas.
Simon Pagenaud.
Oh, Pagenaud. There you go. I forgot about that.
I don't think Malukas was a licensed driver.
Yeah, no, he wasn't even around there. But he runs so good here, I had to throw him out there. I forgot he said 17. But yeah, power. But another thing is on Simon Pagenaud. He ran good here. He liked this racetrack. He always ran really good here as well.
Although there was one pass that Joseph made on him down at turn one that didn't make Simon too happy.
Yeah, that one there may have been not to his liking.
8 minutes remaining in this session, and again to give you the schedule for the rest of the day at 2:15, Nick Yeoman climbs in the saddle and take you through Indy next, and we'll see if anybody can slow down the juggernaut that is Dennis Alger. That'll be at 3:15 Eastern, of course, and then at 5:30 Eastern, 4:30 Central Time, we'll have IndyCar qualifying. Nick will be along to help us call that. Then at 7 o'clock Eastern tonight, Indy next qualifying. That's at 6 p.m. Central, and then at 8:15 Eastern, 7:15 Central Time, that final practice session, which I think, again, is going to be really cool to watch under the lights here.
Yeah, we were excited to get up nice and early this morning, have early breakfast for quite a day. Now we're going to be quite a night, but that's okay, as long as we get it in. Mother Nature affected this morning, but that's one great thing with this track and this series, getting together, figuring out, hey, how do we get this all done, make it good for everybody.
You can sleep in tomorrow because we don't race till Sunday night.
Well, yeah, but there is a two-seater event that I got to do.
Oh, that's right. You're a multitasker.
7:30 interview here in the morning, too, so I'll be here early.
That a local television interview?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, do you know what?
It's a Fox affiliate.
Oh, okay.
It's
well, we'll have to.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sitting on this.
I'll just be straight up. I'm going to see what Ari's doing because he's camping out here. My kid's camping out here. We're not. So I'm going to try to see if they'll.
Well, I was looking forward to being seated on my couch in my hotel room with a cup of coffee, watching you on the local Fox affiliate.
Text me and see if I look all right. See my hair's out of place.
Yeah. So Joseph Newgarden, Scott McLaughlin, 1-2 is what they run. David Malukas, Alex Palou, and Colton Herta, your top five. Connor Daly continues to show some pace. He's sixth quickest at 176.939. Kyle Kirkwood, Marcus Ericsson, Pato Ward, and Scott Dixon, the top 10. Will Power has slipped back to 11th. Marcus Armstrong is 12th. Alexander Rossi is 13th. Rosenquist is 14th. Callum Ilott is 15th. And Nolan Siegel, Christian Lundgaard, 18th is Louis Foster. Devlin DeFrancesco is 19th. Ray Hall is 20th. Ferrucci 21st. Stingray Rob 22nd. 23rd is Regis VK. Robert Schwartzman is 24th. Christian Rasmussen 25th. Kiffin Simpson 26th. And Jacob Abel is 27th. And right now, the speed disparity, Joseph Newgarden has turned a lap at 178.243. And Jacob Abel, 27th fastest, Davey, is at 168.374.
Exactly 10 miles an hour difference between those fastest and slowest. Now that's going to tighten up, I promise you. This is Jacob Abels. We got to mention everybody. He's a rookie. It's his first year with that Delcoin Racing. First time here in INDYCAR. So you know, he's working hard. And his teammate VK is only in 23rd. Not that much quicker. So they got a lot of work to do. There's no question about it. But Simpson, they'll go look at what Dixon's got going on, and teammates there as well as below.
Well, to show you how tough this place is to crack, Schwartzman is 24th, Rasmussen 25th, and Jacob Abel 27th. And none of those three raced here last year.
Right, that's right.
Rasmussen was not running the ovals last year.
This is a track. It's about experience, about knowing what it's about getting confident, comfortable. And I'm going to go back to Connor Daly. You know, I mean, he used to hate this place. The same with I. He always said, man, I hate those racetracks. But then all of a sudden he figured it out. He got good. And he goes, oh, no, I don't hate them anymore. I love them. Those are really good racetracks for me.
Michael Young.
Quick update, not only on the Ford car of David Malukas, of ride height adjustment on the front of the car. It didn't look like the Foyt guys were in any too big of a hurry to get that car adjusted, but with time running out in this practice session, they'll need to get them out there if they want to see what those adjustments will do. So, too, some front adjustments for Kyle Kirkwood's car. He's getting set to go back out as well as this practice session slowly winds down.
Are there several things that will impact the setup and the balance of the race car just by adjusting that ride height a little bit one way or the other?
Yeah, no question. So the lower you go with these cars without touching the ground, the more downforce you do generate and create with these cars. The ground effects just help suck the car to the ground more. The higher you go with them, which, you know, it frees the car up. You sometimes can get more straightaway speed, but you are getting less grip in the corners. And more normally on these tracks like this, you want all the grip you could get. So I'm assuming that they're going to lower as much as they can. Now, you get too low and you bottom out, that's not good because it takes the wheels off the ground, and that makes it for quite a ride. So you got to be very gentle. And they have ride height sensors. They have a lot of things in these cars that they can look. And you know, the good old mirror, when they pull these things in, sometimes you'll see them with a mirror underneath that car to see if they see any kind of scrape on the bottom of the race car.
Yeah, and there are, we should mention that, you know, there are skid plates and pegs and whatnot to keep them from actually, you know, getting all the way to the bottom of the racetrack.
That's right, yeah. That and just so the teams know kind of where they are, just kind of reference points. It used to be titanium, so we'd all be able to see when it sparked or so forth. Now they got wood, they got aluminum, they got different things that you could put down there to so when that car bottoms out, you could see it scuff. But and you want to raise it up just a teeny bit from that.
I remember in the quote-unquote old days watching you guys ply your trade under the lights at a place like Texas Motor Speedway.
Oh my goodness.
And on a start or a restart, man, it was like fireworks shooting out.
Yeah, you should have been behind her and driven some of that stuff, you know. I mean, because there's 25 or 6 of us, whatever it was, and you know, you could be in the second, third, fourth row, and it looked like a fireworks show. And if you're towards the back of the field, it was amazing, all the sparks flying everywhere.
About 2.5 minutes remaining in the session, and we are closing in on 1,000 laps total turned collectively by these drivers. And been a knock wood, a pretty clean session.
Yeah,
all in
a really
all.
clean session actually. And you can see on the racetrack, physically see where the track's getting darker, where these Firestones are laying some rubber on the track, getting some grip there. Down in 3 and 4, you can see where the drivers are kind of moving up so slightly, just continuing to widen that groove up down there in turns 3 and 4, so making it a little bit wider down there. But it's coming. It's coming. They're getting rubber down and making this track faster.
We mentioned the drivers who have had some measure of success here, and oddly enough, those are the drivers that we see currently running pretty much in the top 10, the ones that have had, you know, a fair share of success here. I mean, we've talked about Pato, 6 starts here, 4 podiums. He's been second 3 times. We've talked about how well Colton has run here, especially when he starts deep in the field. And, you know, we mentioned the struggles this season for Marcus Ericsson. This would be a place to get him back in the right direction. 4 top 10s here and a 5th back in 2020.
Yeah, you know, and that's, you know, it's about confidence. So first of all, you have to have a good car here, but confidence is a big important thing as well.
Jay Query.
Joseph Newgarden is out of that PPG machine. I love the look of that car. I'm assuming it feels pretty good as well. Take me through that session, which had you at the top of the speed chart.
Yeah, I think we're in a good window to start, but, you know, it's going to tighten up. It already is here towards the end of the session, and it'll be the same in qualifying in the race. It's, you know, it's tough nowadays. Everyone's on it, so we're just going to try and stay at the front end.
At Indy, 2% is a big number for you because you drink milk at 2%. At this racetrack, 16.5% of your career wins have come here. What is it about Gateway that fits Joseph Newgarden?
Jake, I'm a hole guy.
Are you a whole milk guy?
I'm a whole guy.
You know, for the sake of the mathematical analogy there, I had to just assume 2%.
I like the parallel. I'm going to say I'm a whole guy because you need the whole calendar, you know, and that's what I'm going after.
I'll tell you what, whole milk is probably 16.5%, which is what you've won here at Gateway. So 5 wins here. But honestly, what is it about this track?
Yeah, we got good cars. You know, that's the secret on an oval. You got to have the best car in the field, and I've had it for a long time. You know, this team works really hard at it, and you just can't overcome a deficit there. They've always given me something to fight with, so it makes the difference.
Appreciate the time.
Thank you.
That's Joseph Newgard. Mark?
So as the clock winds down now and the checkered flag starts to fly, Davey, interesting comments by Joseph Newgarden. P1 after the session, 178.243.
Yeah, and as he said, they got fast race cars. He's confident, comfortable, and ready to rock and roll. So they're not going to change anything. As he says, the field's going to tighten up because they're not going to give up.
So, again, what's next is Indy next, and look forward to that practice session from 2:15 to 3 p.m., and then at 5:30 Eastern, we'll have IndyCar qualifying. Look forward to that. Then at 7 o'clock, Indy next qualifying, and then at 8:15 Eastern, the IndyCar final practice session. What impresses you so far, and who impresses you so far?
Well, Penske cars look fast right now. Maluka's in that third spot, and that AJ Foyt car is pretty impressive. But all the teams are mixed up. I think it's going to change from what you see right now. But